Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, you know me, Dr. Keith McNally. This is Coach's Corner. Now, you may recognize Brenda Yoho. She was on many other conversations that I've had. So, the Question Guy podcast, the Envision Speaker Series. Today, we're going to talk about her book. Show us your book. Lead with two rules:
Yeah,
feeling good and feeling safe. Now, she's not going for the number one bestseller, but I think you did hit a high mark with your book.
yeah,
Yeah,
I did in the
yeah,
first week. Yeah,
cool.
the first
That is so
week.
cool. So we're going to talk about you, your book, and its impact in the world. So let's go ahead and get started. Brenda, hi. It's good to see you again.
You too. Thanks for having me.
So how long has your book now been in publication? So at least a month, right?
Yeah, a month, a little bit over a month. So our target date was February the 7th. That's when we had the official book launch. It actually went out January the 28th, I believe. Um, but yeah, it's done well. It traveled all the way up to the number one spot for just like a little bit over a week. Yeah, it was great. It's now dropping a little bit, but that's okay. There's a lot of other great books out there. And I was excited to see that happen.
Well, you had a tremendous book launch, and so it was both virtual and on premise. And so I think with all that excitement, and you were just grabbing your supporters from all over the world, and you are a part of several different communities. So education and I think the Go Giver Success Alliance, if I said that correctly. And so you have
Mhm.
fan clubs and all over the world. And so I think that's what made your book launch so successful. But I want to kind of get into really the heart and soul of the book because that's really where you're at. You aren't here to make $1 million, although that would probably be cool. You're here to impact you're here to impact two groups of people. One, the people who are focusing on educating our young people, and then our young people themselves. And so let's talk about how that works. And so with that, you kind of gave me some points, three pointers to kind of talk about. I'm going to address the first one. It's not one more thing. And so this is about how you're tapping into the people who are doing the work, the educators, the teachers in the classroom, who are already burdened enough as it is with all the different things that they have to do just to keep their job primarily
Mhm.
and to make an impact on the people that they are teaching. So, what does it mean? It's not one more thing.
Yeah, it's not one more thing. You don't want to put more things on educators today. They're dealing with so much. And so within the book, there's some resources for educators themselves because when we think about educators today, they're responsible for academics, but it's so much more than that because kids are showing up with lots of other needs. And we have to recognize that. And we've had to recognize that because they're faced with the global pandemic that happened that really shed a big light on lots of things that are happening that didn't go away, and it just intensified. So what I mean with not one more thing, this is a new approach that I'm asking that students are doing, and that's where I think that we need to start is with helping kids to understand about choice, about responsibility and accountability. In the process with focusing on just two rules is where it begins. And because it's simple for the kids to understand that feeling good and feeling safe is what we all want and what we all need. And that will happen for the rest of our lives, no matter how young you are, no matter how old you are, no matter where you are, whether you're at school, at home, in a workplace, in a park. I don't care where you are. You want to feel good and you want to feel safe. So the first part of the book, I talk about how I came up with this going through my life and how it kind of evolved, even more as I became an educator. But when we think about what we want to do in our lives and our approach to things, kids have not had an opportunity to really understand when they get a discipline at school, go to the principal's office, you're suspended for 5 days. Okay, where's our conversation about that? What just happened? So this gives you an opportunity to be able to explain, were you part of the problem or you're part of the solution? And that's what I talk about in the book, is slowing this down and having an opportunity to talk to kids. And that's what I do. And that's what I try to teach. And that's what I try to have everybody apply. So when you meet with the kids the first time as a whole school, I only have two rules. All right, what are they? Well, everybody who walks through the doors is going to feel good about being here and they're going to feel safe. How can we do that? We can do that by asking ourselves some questions. So before you say anything, ask yourself, is this going to make me feel good? Is this going to make others feel good? Before you do anything, is it going to make me feel safe? Is it going to make others feel safe? Now, if you answer no to any of those questions, you've identified a problem in need of a solution. So it is my responsibility as the principal and all of the other staff to become your trusted adult. You just need to find one trusted adult that can help you with problem solving, because you have a choice. You always have had a choice. So if you choose to be part of the problem, then you choose to accept the responsibility and the accountability of that choice. And, I gave some examples when I would talk to kids. If I go out and get in the car and I drive fast and I break the speed limit, I'm taking a chance. I made a choice. I get pulled over by the police. I'm going to have to pay a fine. But what if I hit a car? I may have injured someone. I could have killed someone or even myself. Every choice that we make in life always has a consequence. And so we have to really start thinking about that. So that's what I do with the kids. And you'll see that in my book. There's several different examples of how you walk through those different problems. And really, it's not one more thing that I'm asking the teachers to do or anyone to do, but it will really help with helping kids to understand self-regulation and social awareness and really self-awareness.
I have been in the college classroom for 15 plus years. I spent 1 year in middle school a long, long time ago. I know that when you place yourself, or when we're placed in a situation where we are in a leadership role, and that's a classroom teacher, that's the teacher in the space, kids, students, I won't even say, I won't call my college students kids. Students will watch you, even adults will watch you, because there's an expectation of behavior. Earlier, you said these are really simple to understand and to apply. And I may be paraphrasing here. How simple would it be, or is it, for a teacher in the classroom to apply feeling good, feeling safe principles, that ideology within the classroom?
So that's where I first tried it out as a teacher myself. As a fifth grade classroom teacher, that's when I started using my two rules. So it's very easy to do. So I would always ask my students when I would see them having a problem with each other, I would call them both up and I would say, all right, are you guys being part of the problem or part of the solution? Because I've already explained to them that I only had two rules, that I wanted everybody to feel good and everybody to feel safe. We'd already had that conversation that I just kind of paraphrased for you earlier with asking the questions. So my students already knew what I was going to ask, because I told them up front, that's my expectation. I want everybody in here to feel good, everybody to feel safe. I'm going to make sure I'm modeling that, and I expect you to do the same. So when they would come up to me, I would wait. It's funny because nobody, just like at home with your kids, who broke that glass? None of the kids want to admit that they're the one that did it. So the two kids were like, they're waiting. They don't want to say that they were part of the problem because they don't know what happens next. But I would wait until somebody would say something. I said, I'm waiting. Were you part of the problem or part of the solution? And eventually they would say, the problem. How were you part of the problem? And we would go from there. And the kids would figure out, how to work through their problem. So it's easy to do it within the classroom and be able to say, now there's a consequence now, Yes. What will you do the next time? We will, maybe they were hitting each other or something. I won't hit Johnny next time. I will talk to him and tell him I don't like what he's doing, something like that. And so classroom management became better because kids knew that they needed to express what they didn't like. And if that didn't work, they knew they had to find a trusted adult, which was often me, because I was the only one in the room. And they have to come and talk to me. It wasn't tattletelling, it was problem solving. Big
Well,
difference.
it's a good rephrase too. And so it helps students, heck, it even helps adults think about their own thoughts, words, and actions differently. If they stop before they do something, if they stop, and I think that's part of your process because you actually talk
Mhm.
about there's a pause in between two endpoints. I know that's not one of our talking points, but it's a good talking point to kind of move into. What does that pause mean? What does it mean to reflect and think about, am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution?
See, one of the things that it gives you an opportunity to do is, you know, you can be reactive or you can respond. See, reacting to a situation is using all of your emotions, because you can get really angry and then you lash out. That's reacting. You didn't take time to pause to really think. So when you are responding, you have thought. So I always tell the kids that up front. A big difference between reactive, that's what volcanoes do. They blow up and blow all that lava out. But when you respond, it's like the quiet little river just moving down the little stream, just going really flowing because you've thought about it.
Hmm.
And so there is a little discomfort, but you're flowing. And so you're going to have a dialogue and you're going to have to actively listen to the other person. We talked about that a great deal about how to listen to each other and don't talk over other people. That's huge for people. I think even adults, it's an issue with talking over others.
I think so because it's so easy, especially in at the time of this recording, 2024, that we feel that we're not being heard. And I've had other conversations with other people that help, they coach people so that they can feel and know that they've been validated and that they've been heard and listened to. Your second point was really truly understanding. And now we've been talking about the two rules, feeling good, feeling safe. And it's now time to take a deeper look into that because that must mean that kids are going to school not feeling good and not feeling safe. So, and I'm saying this a lot more lately. I'm 54, so I'm a half a century plus some, right? And so I remember back in the day where this may not have been applicable. I went to parochial school. I didn't never went to public school. I did my K-12 as a Roman Catholic parochial school. And not that it was, paradise on earth, but at the very least, it was a safe place to go to school. Things must have changed since I was in school, you were in school, and now that kids aren't going to school feeling good about themselves, one, or feeling safe. Can you talk about that a bit?
Keith, I think that even when I was going to school, I think I can recall being bullied, and I had an incident. This isn't in the book, but I had an incident at high school level. That's when I really felt like I was feeling better about myself and feeling good and feeling safe because I had some high school teachers that really took an interest in me. I had Mrs. Arnold. She knows that she's my favorite teacher, love her to death, and she knows that. I tell her that often. Every time I see her, she's known that for a long time. But we had an incident. Um, I had a journalism class, and in that class was a young man. And I was a younger, I was a freshman, and these kids were probably sophomores and juniors mainly in the classroom. There's just a handful of us that were freshmen. He hung himself. And the teacher who was the classroom teacher was his neighbor. And I can remember him coming to school and the teacher saying, I found him. And I want you to know that I saw many of you in here. And the teasing and the bullying and the things that are being done have to stop. And that really impacted me a great deal because at that moment, I realized that I wasn't the only one that wasn't in my career and education as a student. I wasn't the only one that wasn't feeling good and I wasn't feeling safe. And it really opened my eyes a great deal. And I started looking at the people who were the ones that were doing the bullying and saying the things. And I was just wondering, what were they thinking at that moment? And I don't know if that was the right thing for the teacher to do. I've questioned that for a long time, but you know, maybe it was the right thing to do. I don't know. Um, I don't know if it changed anything or not, but I think that
It changed you.
it did change me. It made me more passionate about what I do. And I think that even today we have those we have even more issues with those things. I think that we had here recently, within the last couple of years, we've had some really significant changes in our youth with suicides. We have younger and younger kids committing suicide. And I know that you're an advocate to try to um, get those numbers to be zero across the board.
If I can,
And
if I can, every conversation counts.
it does. And I think we need to have more and more of those. And I think that um, the things that you're doing, like today, like us talking about this today, it helps. And I think we need to be very conscious about the words that we choose to use, what we're modeling, what we're doing, and being very consistent and intentional with what we're doing. And I think that it's today that we need to make the change, not tomorrow. It's today. And that's why I was so passionate about trying to get my messages out. So I think that it's critical. I think that kids today don't feel good and they don't feel safe because we've invited into their every aspect of their day and night these social media platforms. I'm not blaming technology. I'm not. I'm trying not to do that. I think technology is great, but it never turns off for them. So remember when we were younger, if somebody was saying something to us, we could go home and we could kind of escape it. But now it can still be with us.
Mm.
The kids today are looking and monitoring their social media constantly. So within my book, there is a story about when I was writing the book. It bothered me that a young lady, um, a group of girls attacked her. It was a fight. It was videotaped and it was made public. And she told her dad, "I I I I can't handle this image." And she killed herself that night because she did not want to have that image out there. And I think that we have to do a better job at protecting our kids and helping them to understand the magnitude of social media. It's huge.
The last talking point for today was its global application. And as you're telling me these stories, and you've indicated that I am an advocate for suicide awareness, prevention, and whatnot, only because I've made the attempt twice, really three times. My first time in graduate school, but I don't typically talk about that, is that I should probably start every conversation um, with those two questions. Is this, are we feeling good? Are we feeling safe? Maybe not in those words, but in some way, shape, or form to make sure that when I'm having a conversation with somebody, regardless of what that conversation is going to be about, that it's going to go into the direction that it needs to go into. Now, typically, I've over the last 6 months or so, I've started a new process before I step into a conversation or I sit into a conversation like this is, and I'll stop and I will pause for myself and think about what I want to talk about and how I want to experience the conversation. So it's my own meditative process. It's my own pause. You indicated that feeling good and feeling safe can be used anywhere. So this is not just a book about educators in an educational system. It can be applied to work, home, wherever, on in the park. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, my point is that we need to have this applied in every aspect of our lives because the more consistent we can be with this and the more we can to begin to practice it, the more it becomes reality. Because society is always a reflection of what we together make a reality. So if we don't work together, all of us together, we won't see the changes that we need. And we need change. The suicide rate is very high, and I don't like it. And I know, Keith, I shared with you in one of our conversations, many conversations, about how that negativity, fear seems to be something that is just a cloud that just is over all of us because we see that in programming that we watch, and there's always people saying that there's something to be fearful of. And honestly, there is a lot of things to be fearful of, but we need some positivity because if we are focused on always the problems, we never see the solutions. And we have to see the solutions. And this, my friend, is a solution. We've got to see it. We've got to do it. We've got to apply it because without it, we're going to continue down this negativity and we're going to always have problems. And we have to take some action steps. And it really truly is the best way to apply having positivity in your life is by always focusing on feeling good and feeling safe and what you can do for yourself and for others. It absolutely is the focus that we need to all have. And we need to do it together home, school, community, together. My line.
Brenda, there's no better way to end this conversation than with those words. And so thank you for joining me on Coach's Corner. For those of you who have been watching and listening, I'll see you next time. Take care.